Hello and welcome to Future Squared. Stephen Hawking once said that intelligence is the ability to adapt to change, so let's adapt. My name is Steve Glaveska, and each week I'll bring you conversations with preeminent thought leaders from a variety of fields to help you think in a multidisciplinary way, kick goals in your professional and personal life, and better navigate what is fast becoming a brave, new world. Future Squared is brought to you by Collective Campus, an innovation accelerator that works with organizations to unlock their people's latent potential to create more impact for humanity and lead more fulfilling lives. If you need help driving your organization's innovation strategy, visit collectivecampus.io. And without further ado,
come with me if you want to live.
My grandmother, she used to say to me, every house have problems. Some houses got more than one, but you have to be strong and you have to keep going as much as you can. There's nothing you can do or undo. You can do to try to survive and help the family as much as you can, but whatever it will be, it will be.
welcome back to Future Squared for episode number 386 with my 69-year-old mum, Miljana Glaveska. While she doesn't come to this show with the same kinds of credentials or pedigree that many of my former guests do, she comes to the show with something that many don't have. Almost 3/4 of a century of life experience and a very unique story to tell. We unpacked her early life in socialist Yugoslavia, being raised by deaf parents, leaving her family behind to start a new life on the other side of the world, being a non-English speaking migrant in Australia in the 1970s, losing a child, developing resilience, and so much more. I learned so much in this conversation, and I hope you take something out of it as well. So with that, I bring you a conversation with my thick Eastern European accent-bearing mother, Miljana Glaveska. Welcome to the show, Mom.
Thank you, Stevche.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the program. A very different guest to the type of person I normally interview, but I think this will be a interesting conversation nonetheless. If not for our listeners, then definitely for me at the very least. So going back to 1950 when you were born in a small village called Logovardi on the outskirts of Bitola, which was a city in Macedonia, which was then a republic of Yugoslavia, just to give everyone a smaller geography lesson there. What do you remember of those early days of being a child in Bitola in Yugoslavia?
Oh, I remember everything like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We grow happy and we have good life. We didn't know for anything better. We have food on the table.
Yeah.
And
did you have television at that age or radio?
No television, no radio.
Mm-hmm.
Radio we have later, maybe in the 60s. Anyway, in my village.
Yeah, so you had nothing to compare to. Like you didn't see TV, didn't see people living in Beverly Hills or anything, so you were happy with what you had.
Nothing. After maybe when I was 12 or 13, someone in the village got the radio.
Yeah.
And we listened. And after when I was 15, 16, someone had television. So when some nice program from America. I remember Benny Hill.
Benny Hill, yeah.
And Benny Hill, the other one drama called Clara, Benny and Clara.
Okay.
And we go to the next door neighbors with my friends.
All sit around the television.
Sit around and watch the dramas. So we were happy.
Yeah. So you say you had like a middle class upbringing back then,
like
or what you call middle class. I mean, what did that actually mean back in, say, 1955? I mean, did you have electricity, running water?
No, we don't have electricity, we don't have water, we don't have... we have water, but we have to carry on with the big buckets from... we have only one, what's it called, deep hole for...
Like a reservoir of water?
No reservoir, like big hole, maybe meter and a half.
Like a water pump somewhere in the middle of the village, and you'd have to go and collect the water.
Pump, but we were with the bucket. We was dipping in the bucket and take water out.
How far did you have to carry the bucket?
Maybe 500, 600 meters far away.
Yeah. And you had to do that from when you were a little girl?
Yes, I had to do that. Every day we have to go for water, for drinking water, and as well for washing.
Well, I imagine you would have had to get lots of buckets, not just one.
We have to, when we do, especially when we do washing, we have to get more buckets.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, like you said, shower, or we have small bathtub. We have to warm up the water and have shower maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And washing the clothes, everything.
What
by
about
hand.
What about cooking food? How did you cook? Was it?
Well, we have like a heater, small heater or stove. We have to put some wood inside and warm water on top of it and cook on top, and little oven. Yeah, we cook in the little stove, but no electricity or gas, just on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, before summer, like autumn time, we have to buy lots of wood, so we can have for winter time, for heating, for cooking. And also we had something like called chimney, so inside like a spare room, and something was made from metal, so we put the fry pan or saucepan on that, and with the sticks and wood, all this, we make fire and cook on that as well.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like a very simple village life. I think at the time, Logovardi, the village you were from, had a population of maybe 1,000 people, or
300 houses.
300 houses, maybe 5
village,
people to 10 people per house.
Yeah.
So
maybe over 1,500 because back then they lived together, parents and kids married together, and like 7-8 people in the house.
Yeah, which is kind of like Italy today, where you have a lot of cross-generational pollination. But so how did the family earn money to get by back then? Was it mostly farm agriculture, or?
Back then, it was. When I was then called collective, and my father worked for the government, and he looked after the baby calves. Yeah, and he feed them and look after them, everything. So we had my father and a little bit of money for that. That they were all right. We have some also. Like a farm. Yeah. So we grow corn and wheat and watermelon, tomatoes, vegetables, all sorts we have.
So how big was that farm? Do you know, like roughly the size?
Like we have acres.
Acres, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how many acres.
And so when you did you take that to the market to sell it, or was it sold to like a supplier who would then?
Supplier come and collect the corn and the sunflower seeds also, and the swap, they give us oil. We give the sunflower, they give us oil, and
so a lot of bartering and trading, not just paying you for the goods, but giving you what you needed to live.
Also we grow
Nicotine?
Nicotine, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 20,000 pieces. What's it
Okay,
called?
I'm not sure. I'm not a big nicotine connoisseur, but yeah.
So that was coming for the summer. We keep busy with that, but on the end, it pays us good money. So we always buy some furniture or save some savings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good money then.
So for you, what kind of work did you have to do in the farm? And how young were you when you started working in the farm?
My parents used to take me maybe from 10, 11 years to the farm, and I have to do everything they do. No same as them, but I have to dig in the garden and pick up the nicotine, water in
tobacco
the tobacco,
yeah.
yeah. Water in the garden, pick up the tomatoes, chilies, all sorts of jobs. I have to go to school.
How far away was your school?
My school was 5-6 kilometers far away.
So was there a bus or?
No bus, no nothing. Every morning, get up,
And
get
walk?
dressed, and we have to walk.
So that was probably like when,
5,
1 hour
6.
to walk there? Or?
1 hour,
Yeah.
1 hour walk in the morning. 5-6 hours at school, and after we have to come back walking
Sounds
again.
like good exercise.
Good exercise, yeah.
What about in winter? Because in winter I know it snows over there, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of snows, and as we walk, we had to have warm clothes, warm shoes, scarves,
Yeah.
gloves,
Yeah.
everything. And as we walk, we had white snow,
Frost on your
frost on the
eyelashes,
eyes,
and
eyelashes,
eyebrows,
yeah. And the nose
Wow.
was red, and
And you told me once that you used to like slide to school or make
yeah, I forgot my homework.
little... Yeah.
And I was light, so I go on the ice because in the middle of the road on the side was like water and was ice, and I go back on the ice skating
Ice skating with your shoes.
with my shoes, yeah, and go back, took my homework and go back on time.
Good. So
Yeah.
instead of 1 hour, you got there in maybe half an
Yeah.
hour, a bit faster.
Yeah, we have sometimes hard times, but
What kind of hard times?
because it was too cold. Sometimes was raining days. Sometimes you can't wait to go to the school and the heater on. But sometimes the heater it wasn't start. It just smoke inside, and until the heater start and they open the window and the doors, and so the smoke can clear. And
So what can you tell me about school back then? Was it, I mean, what kind of subjects were taught, and also was it very strict in the classroom? Like what can you tell me about
it
school
was
life?
strict, yeah,
Yeah.
it was strict. We study hard. We have languages like Serbian, Macedonian, and French. Maths as well, geography, history, chemistry, physics.
Yeah.
We
So
study,
typical sort of curriculum, but more focus on language and
yeah.
yeah.
And
What about when you say it's strict? How was it strict?
we have to study hard, and we have to be very disciplined. If something was going wrong, and we had punishment, like
What kind?
they hit your hands with a stick, and
So you were saying when I was younger that they get
three
you to hold
fingers,
three
yeah,
fingers
three
together
fingers, and
and
hit
then
you with
hit
a
that
stick.
with ruler. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't happen today, I don't think, in schools, at least not in Australia.
Yeah, once it was French, I remember. I was good at French, and
Do you remember any French?
yes, I remember.
What do you remember?
Comment s'appelle-t-il? And that means how are you? Good
Okay.
morning,
Sure.
bon matin, bonsoir. It's a good evening,
Yeah.
and bonjour, good
Well, that's
day.
pretty basic French.
Oh, well,
Do you think you could carry a conversation in Paris?
Sorry?
Do you think you could have a conversation with a French person? No?
It's many years from then past, and I don't think I can have conversation. No.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Did you ever get in trouble yourself, or?
Yeah, from we have a class, and the teacher asked question, and no one in the class hands up to answer the question, so I didn't answer as well, because I thought if no one knows, maybe I don't know as well.
Yeah.
But the teacher, because I have A on the subject, and she asked me to answer the question, so I stand up and go on the boat, and I answer the question correctly. And because I didn't hands up, she got angry and she hit me 3 times because why I didn't show up before when she asked the question.
Why did you keep quiet?
Why do I keep quiet? And then I start crying. It wasn't fair.
So she hit you 3 times with the ruler on the 3 fingers then?
She hit me hard.
Okay,
and she said, don't forget for next time.
Yeah. What about when you were in school? I mean, was there much, did they teach you much around, say politics, about Yugoslavia, stuff that may or may not be considered propaganda today? Was there anything like that? Or history?
No, they teach you more from another country instead of for Macedonia. They didn't teach us nothing from Macedonia.
But what about, say, Yugoslavia or Serbia or?
Serbia, yes, for Serbian, yes, for Slovenia, yes, but not much for Macedonia.
So at that time, I mean, what did you actually consider yourself? Like, if someone asked you, where are you from, would you say I'm Yugoslavian or I am Macedonian?
I'll say I'm Macedonian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing for Yugoslavia. Back then was good for everybody, but after sooner when they split, they separated.
The split was in the early 90s, so that was like 40 years after you were born. But back in childhood, though, I guess it was a very different place. But we'll touch on some of the politics as well. But first, while we're on the topic of childhood, I mean, you were raised by deaf parents. So
yes, both my parents were deaf.
Were they deaf from birth, or?
My father was 12 months old when he lost his voice. And my mother was 4 years old when she got very sick, like measles. She got measles and she was living in another village far from where my village is. And it was winter time, as my grandmother told me. She was 4 years old, and my grandfather was in the war. My grandmother was by herself, and she had 5 children.
Yeah.
And when my mother got sick, because it was winter time, lots of snow, back then was not near any doctors, and she didn't take her to doctor nowhere. And because of the measles, she had high temperature, and she lost her
hearing,
voice, hearing, everything. And she can't talk after. And afterwards, they took her to the doctors everywhere, but there was no help.
Yeah.
And for my father as well, my grandfather used to tell me that he used to take him everywhere he knew, any doctor he can knew. But in that time, the Germans were in Macedonia, in my village as well, in the Bitola, and he took him to one doctor from Germany, and he examined my father, and he said, I wanted to advise you, there's no any help for your son, because all his
Like his ear canal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ears and
drums.
the drums. They dead,
Yeah.
and you don't waste any money anymore. Don't go anywhere. It's gonna be like that, and you have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened.
So that was during World War One, and the Germans were occupying Bitola at the time.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
Bitola, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So what was it like growing up with deaf parents? How did you communicate? Because I don't think you actually, they didn't actually learn sign language. You came up with your own.
yeah, they didn't go to school to learn the language. And we learn basic communication, but we understand everything. I don't have problems with my parents because in my village were like over 1,000 people, and my parents, they knew every one person had to tell me how he looks like, and for everyone got some sort of sign, or his eye, or his nose, or his hair, or
Yeah.
by the look, and we knew for everybody. And
Yeah.
but it was hard for me, as we were three children, my brother and my sister. I was oldest, and I have to take care of them after when they got sick or everything. I have to take him to the doctors. I have to, wherever they need to be taken, I used to take him. And
Yeah, I remember when I had the opportunity to meet your dad, my grandfather, Metodia, back in 1997 when we visited. I found the way you communicated with him fascinating. I didn't understand any of it myself, but you could have like a full-on conversation with him with this sign language that you more or less made up yourselves, but somehow you both understood exactly what the other person was saying, and there was laughter and joy and tears, and it was fascinating to see from the outside looking in.
Yeah, they can't talk, they can't hear it, but they were very smart people. We were nevertheless like any other children in my village. I have everything. From clothes, I was clean, always wash on time. For school, I have my books, and my mom cooked dinner. Sometimes she got angry. She wants me to cook because she got tired of cooking, and she said, you have to learn how to cook, and ask me to make bread, because that time we make bread at home. And I make bread, and I cook. I have to wash like that time, like no, not like now. You have to learn to, if you get married, when you get married, you have to be ready to understand everything, all the housework. Yeah, so my father got to work, and because we were three children, and because they didn't talk, and they helped him also, but he was good at work too. They kept him because, and he looked the baby calves, as I mentioned before, because he looked them properly, and they were happy of his job.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we visited, he still had, I think, one goat that he would take out for a walk every day.
Yeah, he
back in 97.
kept that for a milk for my nephew and niece.
Yeah. So during that time, I think Josip Broz Tito was the president of Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
And he kind of, I mean, it was essentially a type of socialism, communism, but not as strict as the Soviet Union, and Tito was also friendly with Winston Churchill and the United States.
With everybody, he was friendly, Yeah, he was very friendly.
So what kind of memories do you have of him as a leader and of, say, the economy in Yugoslavia at the time when you were growing up?
I don't know, as some people accept him as a president. He was good president. Some people don't. But I accept him as he was good president.
Based on your experiences.
Yeah, I think he was more fair. But the Yugoslavia wasn't that rich country, so lots of people accept him too. They expect much more than it was. But it was like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, you mentioned when your mum was trying to teach you to make the bread, to cook, because when you get married, you'll have to help support the family and do that kind of stuff. And then, speaking of getting married, when did you meet Dad? Tell me the story of when you first met Dad.
When I saw your dad.
Where did you see?
I was 18 years old when I met him. Met him in the city. No. Met him in the city and...
in Bitola?
In Bitola, yeah. He stopped me and he said that he saw me many times and he wanted to talk to me. So we talked for a while. Then after the following week, he come in the village with his friend.
Yeah.
And cousin as well.
Yeah.
And we talked a few times. And we met in Bitola a few times as well. And he asked me to marry him.
Really? Like after, what, 10 dates or so?
After maybe 1 month.
1 month?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fast mover. Was that normal back then for people to move that quickly?
For somebody it was normal, yeah. For somebody, I don't know. But he wanted me to get married and I was not even 18 years old. And
you said...
He said to take me with him and go in his village. I said, no, I don't want to run away. And I have to tell my parents. I don't want to scare them because they're not going to stop me. And if I wanted to get married, I wanted to get married. And I spoke with my grandfather. I tell him what's happening. And he said, how you going to go in that village? There's no water. The water is terrible. It's a small village. It's terrible. And
this was Dad's village. It was called Trn, and it had maybe like 15 or 20 houses at the time. Pretty small.
Maybe 30 houses, 30, yeah, but I said, no, he looks nice, big man, and if he survived that long, I will survive with him as well, and I wanted to marry him. He said, oh, if you want to marry him, you marry him. Yeah. And that's what happened. So they come like 7-8 people to my house. We prepare dinner, and I got ready and got back with him.
Was that on his motorbike as well?
No.
Because I know he picked you up on the motorbike the first time, right? Or in a Java motorcycle. I think the brand doesn't exist anymore, but...
Yeah. He had a motorbike, and we went for a drive, Yeah, but when we got married, he came with a van. Like there was 7-8 people together, and we got back together.
Wow. So you were just 18 and married, and then you left the family home and moved in with Dad. Yeah. And then a short while thereafter, when you had my older brother Sasha, right? How far after? How long after marriage was that?
10 months.
10 months? That sounds about right. Well, I'm surprised you didn't say 9 months, but 10 months sounds plausible.
After 10 months, he got in November.
Mm-hmm. And what was life like then, trying to raise a child in Yugoslavia or in Macedonia?
It was all right, but one side was all right, by the other side we were like 8 people at home. And I don't have mother-in-law, I only have father-in-law. And
Father-in-law.
Father-in-law, yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 brother-in-law,
Brother-in-laws, yeah.
3 brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Yep. So a big family, lots of brothers and sisters-in-law,
families,
parents-in-law,
yeah.
yeah.
Then after 6 months after the birth of my son, after 6 months, my husband come to Australia. He said,
Yeah.
here we can have better life. He talked to his father, and his father said, you are young now, and the door is open for you. You can go see how is it in Australia.
Yeah.
If you're happy, you can stay and continue living in there.
Sure.
If you're not happy, the door is always open. You can come back.
Yeah. So this was when Australia basically was opening the gates,
Yeah.
so to speak, for people to come here and work from all over the world,
Yeah.
particularly Europe, Eastern Europe as well. How did Dad actually get to Australia? I don't imagine it was Emirates business class flight. How did he get here?
He come by ship.
Ship.
Yeah, with his brother too.
Yeah.
His younger brother.
So the ship, Macedonia doesn't have.
He come with the train to
Yep.
Italy.
To Italy. Was it Genoa? Genoa is a city in Italy. I think that's where he docked.
I don't know.
Where
No
he
Split.
alighted.
Somewhere.
Okay.
No, Split is
No, that's Croatia. So from Italy, I think he caught a ship. How long did the ship take to get to Australia?
Then on the ship, he come to Australia. Took 1 month.
1 month.
Took him
Wow.
1 month.
That's a
And
long time.
I said I have very hard time. He couldn't eat any food. I felt
He
sick.
felt sick, yeah.
All they had flaky peppers. I took with them, and all they had bread and the pepper
Yeah.
for 1 month. And after he come here to Australia, and like a beginning, they don't have money. They have to live with somebody else.
They didn't speak any
renting.
English. They
No
didn't have any
English.
money.
No education.
No education.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing beyond
They
basic.
come to South Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed there, and after your father write the letter for me, if I wanted to come here to live with him, and he said it's hard, it's gonna be hard. If he stay by himself, he's gonna, for 2-3 years, maybe he can go back to Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
But if I come here to be with him, at least we have to stay like 7-8 years.
So the plan was to stay for a few years, make some money, and then move
Go
back home.
Yeah, but for me it was hard because when your father come here, I was along with your grandfather and with the rest of the family.
Mm.
I wasn't happy. It was hard with me with the baby because baby gets sick and you have to take him to Bitola. You have no car, you have no nothing by walking. It was hard, and I said I can't stay any longer.
And that's like a 7-8 kilometer walk to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said I can't stay any longer. I'll come over there. Then we see what's happened.
Yeah.
And after 6 months, Sasha, your brother, was 14 months. So we come to Australia.
So you didn't catch a ship there, right?
No, I come with that time the Australia offer $25 fly if you wanna come to Australia.
Yeah. It's pretty cheap.
Pretty cheap, yeah. I come with
good deal.
$25 with aeroplane and come to South Australia. And we lived there for like 11 months.
Yep.
I said I didn't like to stay in South Australia because there was no job for the women, just for men. So from South Australia, we moved to Melbourne.
Yeah. So just, during this time, so you basically moved to the other side of the world. So your family, your mum, dad, brother, sister, everyone, all your friends, everyone you knew was on the other side of the world. And not only that, but Melbourne is like the southernmost tip of the mainland Australia almost. So it's as far as away as you can almost get from Macedonia. I mean, how did you feel being so far away from everyone that you grew up with?
Oh, I wasn't happy. I cry. I cry for a very long time. I feel very lonely. I didn't have to share anything with nobody, and even you don't understand English. Once I had to go to the shop. Your father sent me and your uncle, they sent me to buy some eggs. And that shop wasn't far, and I went myself. I said, but I don't know how to call. They tell me the name of the eggs, but as soon as I got there, because I got like embarrassed in the shop, I was shy and I forget the name they tell me.
Yeah.
And I look around, I can't see any eggs. And the man from the shop asked me what I'm looking for. And I told him something chicken.
Something chicken.
And he took me where the chicken are. I said, no. He took me where the food for chicken is. I said, no. Then he drew a chicken.
He drew a chicken on a piece of paper.
Drew a chicken on the piece of paper, and I took his pen and I drew egg next to the chicken. Then he laughed and he showed me the eggs were next to him. Then I took the eggs and I go home and I start crying. And they make fun of me.
Yeah.
But they said that's how you have to learn.
Yeah.
And
so you obviously you learn English, you start making some money. You moved to Melbourne from South Australia because you were initially in Whyalla in central South Australia.
Yeah.
What kind of work did you and Dad end up finding and doing during those first 10 years? Because like you said, not much education, not much English. What kind of stuff did you do?
We do the hardest jobs.
Yeah.
We work in the meat factory.
Yep.
But that time was lots of jobs. Wherever you can look for job, even you don't know English, they give you the job. So I work in the car factory, I work meat factory, I work some factory called Kenya. They prepare material for carpet, for things like that, and I work everywhere. But
you work double shift, like 14-hour days. What kind of hours did you work?
No 14, but 12 hours. Yes, I used to work 12 hours Saturday.
Yeah.
So you can make some money. And
what about Sasha, the baby boy? What was he in childcare or?
No childcare. I used to take him to some lady. That time was some old family, some old lady.
Yep.
She stay home, and you ask her if she wanted to take care of him. And I used to take him to the other lady, and she look after him.
Yeah.
You pay the money, and.
So you first settled in Yarraville, is that right, or Seddon?
We live in your father's friend for 6 months.
In his friend's house. Where was that?
His friends, when we moved from South Australia, come to Melbourne, and we live with his friends here at the house, and we pay rent. We live for 6 months.
Where was that? Which area?
Seddon.
Seddon.
Yeah, Seddon.
So that's next to Footscray and Yarraville. In between.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seddon. We lived there for 6 months, and we saved some money, so we can have some deposit for the house.
Yeah.
And the money we saved, me and your uncle and your father, and was like 1,000 something. All the
Which is
money.
a lot more then than it is now.
Yeah, and we put on deposit, and we bought house in Yarraville.
Yeah,
It was like 12,000.
$12,000 for a house in Yarraville. Now it's probably 700,000 just for a simple unit in Yarraville, let alone a house would be over $1 million.
Yeah. Even that doesn't sound like lots of money, but
even then, cost of living
we take like $40 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I pay like $11-12 for your brother just for taking care.
Yeah.
And the rest of $30 we have to have food and make some savings from that. That
Of course. Yeah.
it was hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard for your brother once your father worked in the meat factory and got some strike, and he have to leave like 11 o'clock. And he went straight away to pick up your brother from the lady.
Yeah.
And when he got to pick up your brother, and he was in the room, and she tied him with the, what's it called, yaže? Rope.
A rope, yeah.
With the rope, the handle of the door, and your father asked her where the satchel.
Yeah.
And she said she left him, she was going to go to the shop, and when he saw the door was tied in with the rope.
Tied to the door.
Tied with the rope, and she said, he said, why are you doing this? And she said, because I was going to go to the shop just in case he get out.
Yeah.
And your father got so angry, and he took your brother, and we never take him back again.
Wow.
So after we looked for somebody else, then we found another lady, and he was happy there. He wanted to go, even when we used to take him in the afternoon, when I go from work to pick him up, and she used to say to me, you go cook and do some work. You can take him wherever you want. And he wanted to stay because they have some kids as well, and he was happy.
So, I mean, this is in the 70s, so there was a lot of migrants from Eastern Europe, Yugoslavian, Macedonian, Serbian, Croatian, Italian, Greek, and so on, moving to Australia then, with similar stories, empty suitcases, not much money, not much education, working, menial jobs or working as laborers in factories and things like that. I mean, what was it like being an Eastern European migrant in Australia in the 1970s? Did you feel welcome? Did you feel safe? I mean, what was that journey like, that experience?
Speaking of experience, just for myself, I didn't know English, but wherever I got to work, I was welcome. I didn't have any problems.
Yeah.
Even because when we used to work in the meat factory, was most of the European people, and nobody knew English as I know just little bit, and I know just little bit. So we were happy. We talk like Europe English, no like proper English, but
You like you speak today.
And we were happy because we were young, and we make some money. We have
freedom,
and
was there much like racism towards European migrants at the time?
Sometimes, yes, there was like racism, but sometimes it's nothing you can do. You are.
What kind of racism?
You are woke. They call you woke.
Yeah.
Or you stupid, or you don't understand English, or
go back to your own country and
go
things
back
like
to
that.
your own country, but sometimes you say back something, sometimes.
What do you say back to them?
Whatever you think of.
Whatever you can say.
Whatever you can make him upset too. Because we used to say no one is proper Australian.
Everybody's moved here from somewhere else. Just that different. Some people have been here longer than others. That's all. Yeah.
We used to say so.
No, that's very, very true. Very factual. So that 70s, you spent kind of working, building up some finances, making more money, and then you actually went back to Macedonia, not to live, but for a holiday.
Holiday.
Well, that was 1979, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. For how long?
For 3 months.
3 months. Yeah. Yeah. So you mean initially you said that you were going to move here for a few years, make some money, and then move back. obviously I'm having this conversation with you in 2020, 50 years after you left the country. You never went back. How come?
Oh, as we work every day, we start building here. We make some money. Obviously, my son was growing, go to school. Your sister Lydia, after she started to grow and she started to go to school, and you can live on two places. So we thought maybe we have to work hard now, but it's Australia and Macedonia is totally different countries. So we wanted to build better future for you. So that's how we decided to stay here.
Yeah.
And your brother was very smart. He was study hard. Your sisters as well.
So she was born in 75, so
She
6
was
years
born,
after.
Yeah, 6 years after. And after we live in Yarraville, 79, 9 years, 8 years, 9 years. Then we make some money and we buy some block in.
We wanted to build a mansion,
We
McMansion,
wanted
as
to
they
build
say.
a new house. So we moved to West Sunshine.
Yeah. Which was a very Eastern European area at the time. A lot of Mediterranean
everyone
migrants.
moved from Sedon, from Yarraville
Full of
to
Maltese
West Sunshine.
and Croatian and Macedonian, Italian. Yeah.
So we moved here in 79. We built the house.
Where we're having this interview right now. So 41 years later, you've still got the house?
I still got the house, yes. And we work, we both have jobs with your father and we earn good money. We were happy and we said, we are lucky now. Our kids grow up, so we don't have to take them to somebody else. They start to go to school and we are still young.
Yeah.
We can have a happy life.
But something didn't quite
from
go to plan.
somewhere, as maybe God listened to me, as I said, we can be happy, we can have a good life. And suddenly, your brother Sasha, he got sick.
So when you say he got sick, what did he have?
So he wasn't well for a few weeks.
He was 12 at the time when he was diagnosed?
13.
13, okay.
13, yeah. He complained he had sore throat. I thought maybe he's got a cold, this and that. And we took him to Footscray Hospital, nighttime. And they ran some tests and they come back with your father. I stayed with your sister at home. And the other morning they called from hospital and they said, you have to come back and went to the hospital with your son. And we go together. They gave us the letter and they told us we have to go to Children's Hospital. So we went to Children's Hospital and they ran few tests again. And they said he got leukemia. And they hit me with a knife.
So, yeah.
That was very hard for us. And the doctor who gave us the results, the news, was Dr. Eken, and he said that time, even today, some people have struggled to survive, but most...
Survival rates now is like 90% or something, I think.
But then was very hard to survive. Yeah. And
How long did he fight for?
7-8 months. We had 7-8 months to the hospital, home.
How was he during this time? How was Sasha, my brother? How did he take it? How did he...
Oh, well,
She was 13.
he wasn't happy. He wasn't. He wanted to. He was positive. He tried so hard, and he studied and he taking the medicine. He was going to the hospital, but
He had chemotherapy and
chemotherapy. It was very hard, but he barely come on remission. And Stradovai told us he had to go to Peter McCullin to do some therapy on his brain because of the chemo. Mm-hmm. But he didn't stay long for remission. He just relapsed and leukemia got on him again. And when they told us the news, your father collapsed. And when we went back to your brother, when he was lying, he saw us, he been crying, and he said, what's happening? Why you been crying? Did I tell you because I gonna die? And I didn't know what to tell him. I said, no, they didn't tell you gonna die, but it's hard for us, it's hard for you because we have no one here to help us. We were just me and your father. And at the same time, I lost a lot of weight, and it's happened like I got pregnant with you, and I didn't know that I'm carrying the child because.
So you were carrying me while you were going through all this trauma with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's okay, take your time.
When at that time I told him, I tell the hospital because I don't have period and this, what's happening. And I said, maybe because you worried too much, that's why you can't have your period. But I ran some tests and I said that I'm pregnant with you. And I said, what about can this baby be ready? Can this baby help him? Because they told us if there's some match for bone marrow from your sister or from your brother, maybe can be survive.
Yeah.
But your sister bone marrow doesn't match, and they said for you don't have time.
Yeah.
He don't have that long time to wait for your bone marrow to be tested. But also I had dream before I got pregnant. Before your brother got sick, I had dream like in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I had like in the bath, there was like doll, big doll, like a baby, exactly like a baby, but was doll. Mm-hmm. And behind me, like a lots of angels. And they asked me to give bath to that doll. And I said, I just look at the doll and I had to do it. And I give bath to that doll as I was bathing, and from doll become the real baby.
Yeah.
And I laughed behind me and I said, now you're going to have this baby and we're going to take the big one. Then I got angry, I started to cry, and they ran away. Mm-hmm. And that's how it happened. Your brother got sick and I become pregnant with you. And I didn't know I am pregnant until 4 or 5 months. Mm. And when I tell your brother that I said, I don't know what to do. It's hard for me. I have no one to look after you. And I am pregnant. Who's going to be taking care of your brother? Or who's going to be taking care of the baby? No brother. But he said, whatever happened, you are mother, and you have to take care of me and of my brother. And I said, how you know it's going to be brother? And he said, brother or sister, whatever, your mother, and you have to look everybody.
Yeah.
And that's how it's happened. And I was taking care of your brother, pregnant with you. I was sitting all night in the hospital, look after, next on the chair, pregnant, looking after your brother, every move he make. And that's how it's happened. And after when he...
It's okay.
On the end, he had so hard, very hard time. I had to change nappies on him, and he didn't like any food, anything. And your father stay next to him on the bed. I stay on the other side, and we do whatever we can do. And the sisters coming to help, and he died at home peacefully.
Yeah. So he died at home peacefully in 1983.
August 19.
Yeah,
1993.
I remember reading something from the school yearbook that was written by a friend, and it was essentially saying how positive Sasha always was, and how he always looked forward to, he was doing good at school, and he was up early exercising, kind of like me for most of my adult life, and also after school he'd be riding his bike and just doing all the things that kids do, but just had a real lust for life, and also was a good son from what you've told me about him, but remembered in the most positive light by people who knew him. But I guess you didn't have that much time to mourn, because I was born about 3 weeks, 5 weeks later.
Yeah, he was the best student at school. He was very positive. He was taking care of your sister, take her to school and coming home. If he had 10 cents or 20 cents, he used to buy lollies for her. He never wanted me to say anything bad to her, and she wasn't that long with him, but she has very good memory, and she was very secure with him. And after he passed away, 5 weeks after you come, I have to fight with my life.
So you were essentially at the time, obviously mourning, going through all sorts of emotional trauma and difficulty that comes with losing a son, a child, something I can't even begin to imagine what that's like. But you also had to take care of me and raise me, and a baby is never an easy thing for anyone.
I don't have energy to look after you.
Yeah.
I used to go four times in a week to the cemetery, cry for him. Yeah. And cry at home. But you was crying as well. I don't have energy to get up to feed you. Yeah. I was scrolling to holding my hands to the walls to get up and take care. And you was because I didn't eat proper when your brother was to hospital. I didn't look after myself properly. And
it's all right.
I don't have time. I didn't take care for me because losing your brother was very, very hard. Yeah. And look after the baby as well. And you was very, very crying baby because you wasn't look after properly too. Because all I was caring for your brother. Like you, I wasn't pregnant, like you wasn't in me. Yeah. And when you got born, you was very skinny, very bruising, and bruised. Yeah. Yeah, because I used to hit myself, and you used to cry after you was born. You cry for 1 year all night, like 5 o'clock afternoon. You cry and cry and cry, and me and your father, I was look after you till your father look after you till 12 o'clock midnight. Then he got to sleep, and I was taking care of you till morning.
Yeah.
Because your father had to go to work, and so in the morning, 5 o'clock, you go to sleep. And that time...
Now it's the opposite. Now I'm up at 5 o'clock.
That time you sleep all day, and 5 o'clock, like someone wake you up and you cry all night. But we have no choice. We grieving for your brother, cry, but also we were young, and we have 2 young kids.
Yeah.
Has to be taken care of them. So, because we have no one here, and I decided to be strong and look after you. Maybe God wanted that child, that my son, he needed him. So at the same time, he take him and give me another son to taking care,
So-
like my dream.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like exactly like your dream. But you were strong despite all the difficulty. You said, we've got 2 kids. That's your source of, motivation and energy to carry
Yeah.
on.
I thought if I die, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna take my children?
course.
Maybe my husband remarried, and they have stepmother, and they're not gonna be looked after properly.
Yeah.
Everything come to my head
Yeah.
because I have no one to share here. Like my mother at that time, no telephone, even if was telephone here. My mother doesn't. She was deaf, and she can't talk. And I share with some friends here, but everyone has their own problems, and
Of course.
I have to decide it myself what to do. So maybe God give me energy, and I
Strength.
continue my life.
How long did you wait until you went back to work?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years, yeah. After 2 years, we brought my mother here.
Yeah. So that's your mother, my
My
deaf
mother
grandma.
stay-
How long was she here for?
For 1 year.
1 year. So she came, she helped out.
Yes, she come here and she stay. I go to work, and she was taking care of you. And after 1 year, she went back. And your father find the afternoon shift.
Right.
And I was going morning shift. So we take care of your sister and of you.
Yeah.
We don't give you to somebody else to look after you or anything.
Yeah, yeah. So you picked up the pieces, moved on with your life. I remember those early days being quite dark, but then as I got older, there was, I think, more happiness and cheer and joy, a bit more color in the house than there was in those first few years. And one thing, perhaps to turn this conversation and start to take it down more of a positive light is, despite the challenges, you're able to pick up the pieces, move forward, and build a better life for me and my sister, to give us the opportunities that maybe we would not have had if you had stayed in Yugoslavia. And one thing I found that was, despite, like you said, coming to the country with not much, well, no English, not much education, not much money, somehow working hard, you didn't just spend everything you made. Dad was very big on investing that money and learning how to invest the money, despite himself not having that much of an extensive education. Where do you think that came from? Because obviously nowadays I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always thinking of problems to solve, how to find and take on new opportunities. But with Dad, I remember him being very like entrepreneurial himself and always thinking and coming up with new ways to make money. And what can you tell me about Dad and his sort of entrepreneurial brain, the way he thought?
I don't know. He worked hard. Yeah, he wanted to save money. He wanted to have to build future for you. He wanted to be. Even he didn't have much education, but he wanted to prove that he is smart. And he worked hard. And many times at night time, we go to bed and I slept. And in the morning, you can see him. He's awake, and he said, "You sleep well." And I said, "What about you?" And he said, "I didn't sleep." I said, "Why?" Because he was thinking what to do the next day. I said, "Why you have to think all night? You can think on daytime." And he said to me, "Oh, you can live very long time. You're not worried as I do." But he said once he can think of something and he can't sleep.
Yeah.
And he sometimes maybe with all the bad time we have, maybe some good luck coming. He worked hard, but he saved the money and he was healthy. He used to work hard.
Yeah, he was quite athletic, always.
Yeah, but until you grow up and your sister grow up, and we thought we are happy now.
Yeah.
It's after the dark clouds come sun or shine.
So, but talking about growing up, so talk about being parents to my sister and me. I mean, what do you think about like parenthood? Would you have done anything differently if you did it again? What did you learn raising us? Was I a good son?
I don't have to complain with my children. All of my children were good children. Even your brother, till the last day at school, he always was an excellent student. Sometimes he said, "Mom, you can't help me because you don't know much English." I said, "Even with the English, even with the other education, I don't know much. But I said, I can help you with raise you with anything else. But study is up to you. You have to study hard." And he studied well. Also you and your sister. You all finish with degree and... You always were good students. I never have complained from
Most of the time, not always.
But I can't think any different to raise you. I think I raise you as
good as you could have.
As good as I could, yeah. I can't change any difference. And I'm happy to have you as a son and proud too. And also your sister. And she gave me 3 beautiful grandchildren and son-in-law. Yeah. She raised her family well and they're happy people. So I hope one day
well, let's not go there. So obviously through the dark clouds comes light and blue skies and sunshine and the grandkids. Of course, I've mentioned Dad a couple of times in the past tense, and it's been about 8 years now since we lost him to myeloma, a type of cancer. Obviously, it's not been the easiest thing for you, for us all, but especially for you. I mean, you were together for 42 years or 43 years?
43 years we were together. And
so 43 years. Now, I mean, how was, obviously, going through that, and how did you find the strength to keep going after losing Dad?
I found the strength from the when I lost your father. It was very hard too. It was very hard.
I know, yeah. Even to this day, it's obviously
till this day.
challenging.
But that time when the house was like the house was lying on me. It was dark house, everything
Very empty.
very empty. We lost another person of the family, but there's nothing you can do. He was 66 years old, still young, still to continue his life, but one day we all gonna go.
Yeah.
But he try, the doctors try, and nothing that can be done. And even if I go in the grave with him, he can't change nothing. And I said, he's gone. There's nothing we can do. But I have another 2 children. I have 3 grandchildren, and everything we work hard. I don't want it to be destroyed. I continue to be with my kids, and just how much I have left, I don't know, but I want to see you continue the life and your future.
Of course.
I want to be happy with you. Your father, he didn't like to go, but he can't help. So at that time I was healthy, and I just was sorry and empty. You don't have the life to share with someone, but I'm still happy that you are with me, and your sister is with me. I'm happy with you.
Well, I've definitely admired how you've managed to be resilient and bounce back from that. And, over the last few years, I've seen you socialize more. And I think you went on a cruise ship to New Zealand with, fortunately before coronavirus, but with some friends, and you got to explore New Zealand. And I took you over to Thailand, and was it Thailand? No, it was Vietnam and Singapore a couple of years ago.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
So, I guess, we've been talking now for about 70 minutes, and we've kind of touched on different parts of your life, from early childhood through to moving to Australia, some of the difficulties, some of the bright spots. Looking back on life, I mean, what are you proud of?
I'm proud for everything I've been through. I still keep continue my life with you, and what I have, everything what we have with your father and with yours, still keep going. And I'm looking to, as much as I can, to be positive with you, and I'm sure that your father be happy and your brother to look on the positive side. Because nothing you can change. We under the God, whatever God decide to be. Even if I'm not that religious, but as you can see, we still under someone who's whatever decided to be.
That's one thing we don't agree on 100%, but we have different
we still
opinions.
Believe, yeah.
Well, you believe, but we're not going to get into religion on this show. But of course, everybody has their own beliefs when it comes to life and metaphysical things. But
my grandmother, she used to say to me, every house have problems. Some houses got more than one, but you have to be strong and you have to keep going as much as you can. There's nothing you can do or undo. You can do to try to survive and help the family as much as you can, but whatever it will be, it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the last thing I can ask you is, based on your life experience, what's one thing about life that you know to be true that has always helped you get closer to a good outcome or positive outcome?
You have to do your job. Every morning you get, when you wake up, you say, thank you, God, for today. Mm-hmm. And you have to do your work as much as you can, and you have to be honest and be happy for what you have. You can't be happy for what you don't have, but you have to be happy with what you have. Mm-hmm. And you have to continue life.
Be grateful for what you have.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You be happy for what you have. What you don't have, you don't have.
That's a very beautiful place to end this conversation, very stoic. And before we do, I just want to say thank you for all your love and support over my 36 plus years on this planet. I think, you've been a great mom despite the challenges and difficulties that you've gone through, which you've highlighted on this podcast. But also I think you've been a source of inspiration for me, because life is full of difficulties and challenges and unexpected setbacks. And in the face of those setbacks, you can either, fall apart, or you pick yourself up and you keep on going. And I think you're a testament to that philosophy. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for being my guest on Future Squared today.
Thank you very much.
Hi guys, Steve again. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to receive a weekly email from me, complete with reflections, books I've been reading, words of wisdom, and access to blogs, ebooks, and more that I'm publishing on a regular basis, just leave your details at futuresquared.xyz/subscribe and you'll receive the very next one. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, take a minute to like, share, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It goes a long way to giving the podcast the exposure it needs, so I can continue bringing you guests and conversations of the highest caliber. You can catch me on Twitter at Steve Glaveski and on Instagram at @TheSteveGlaveski. Until next time.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This has been a No Filter Media production.